I've mentioned on this channel from time to time that I have regrets, thinking of projects that maybe I haven't given enough attention or projects that I wish I'd covered but didn't have a chance to. I've mentioned this primarily with movies and film and some other stuff within that vehicle, which is more so a mainstay on my channel, and music's kind of an addendum to that. When it comes to music, partly because this is much more of a new venture for me in the way of this channel, I didn't start out early days covering music as much. Starset was the doorway into it, as I've said many times. As much as I love Starset, it really fueled my interest in me. Like, I really want to talk about music more on this channel, or more so just on my online efforts overall. Because for me, as much as I love, ever entertainment ventures and what I've covered in this channel, whether it's in the film space, the TV space, maybe in other spaces, in the video gaming space, music for me has been a first love when it comes to art and culture. And it's been such an integral part of my life for many years. And I've wanted to be able to talk about it and discuss music that's really special to me, especially from the perspective of newer releases, and hopefully to gauge what's good out there, right, from groups I'm familiarized with or groups that are new to me, and share that experience with you. One regret I have in terms of music and recent coverage, well, two. I didn't cover Trivium's new album, and I wish I had. I mentioned them at the time, but again, I wasn't that far into music coverage. This is still relatively early days, but I'm making my headway in. Bullet for My Valentine, though. I have loved this group for years. They're, of course, European, as many of the groups I listen to tend to be. It's very interesting. Again, they have much more creative library. I mean, America, we've got good artists, but Europe has like a substantial library, especially on my playlist. It's probably part of the reason I look at people that I know and they don't recognize probably half this stuff on my playlist, because I listen to the groups that no one talks about, at least in America. Maybe some, but I think more people talk about Bullet for Valentine, maybe some of the other ones that I've noted in the past with this channel that I hope give prominence to as well in the States. Maybe then they can come over here. But anyway, Bullet for Valentine, I have loved this group for years. They've released several albums at this point. They're extremely talented metal musicians. I mean, some of their, music, I tend to, again, prefer less, swearing to my musical tastes. But, at the same time, the substance to a lot of your tracks is pretty good. And the style overall, they're very talented. Their last album, I really regret not covering, because there are a good selections of songs on that record. I liked Gravity. For the most part, it was softer though in terms of the entrance in from what they had done in the past compared to some of their newer stuff. This new album though was just hard hitting from the get-go. Think of the release schedule here of what they had for this album leading in. Knives, from the get-go is okay, we're going back to the hardcore roots of Bullet for My Valentine, again, post Gravity. It just made such a good impression. And then they put out Parasite, which is one of my favorite songs from them overall. It's a beautiful number. Following that up with Shatter, which was a bit softer from the preceding two tracks, but I think the structure to it overall was very creative in certain parts, especially when they had that softer edge and they blended that with their rougher style, which was pretty potent over the overall song, but still there were those places where there were methodical pauses, and it just worked so well. And then, Rainbow Veins. Overall, the album was good. But then listening to the album fully, and again, I wish I'd done reactions for some of those songs that they hadn't released leading up to it, because the songs were just... They're fantastic. Really good lineup. Really solid. There's one track to No Happy Ending. That song's beautiful. Or I think it's what it's called. No Happy Ever After. Love it. It's one of my favorites on the album. And then again, there's a good general mix. But now they're releasing this deluxe edition, so I'm like, well, this is sort of, I guess, me paying penance for not covering the rest of them. But, hopefully, I have a window here, and I can finally talk about Bullet for My Valentine, like I wanted to earlier, and I regret not doing. So we have a deluxe edition coming out of the album that they just released. And it's going to be, I believe, coming out in August. So we've got a little while to go, but they released this first single called Omen. So actually, it's a couple months out. I think the deluxe has about... 5 new tracks. I might have that number wrong. But let's go ahead and take a listen to Bullet for My Valentine, like I've wanted to for a while on this channel. Trivium, same thing, but I feel like I have to wait for them to release a new album. Again, I talked about it early days with Starset when I was covering them. I'm like, man, I wish I'd covered Trivium too. But let's give Bullet for My Valentine a listen. Again, I've loved these guys for years. And I will say as well, as I've been noting, it's sort of a teaser I integrate into most of my musical coverage. I've got another channel coming out called Symphonies and Small Talk, which is going to be linked to this one in the musical vein. This is more so based on new music. Symphonies and Small Talk is going to be giving prominence to artists that I've listened to their tracks since. Maybe artists out there maybe aren't as well known, or maybe some that are pretty well established. Tunes that I find for whatever reason, inspiring, and creative and worth mentioning, right? And worth highlighting, discussing, and analyzing. Bullet for My Valentine might have a couple tracks. I haven't created the entire playlist yet, but there's a couple groups. I bring actually several, but Bullet for My Valentine might make an impression maybe once or twice. We'll see. Maybe I could be able to integrate some of the tracks of their latest album, the ones I wish I'd covered. Maybe that'll work. That was the vehicle to which I could, I guess, correct things. But let's go ahead and give a listen to Omen. And of course, I'll pull up the lyrics as well for your convenience so you can read these as well, going forward. But if this is your first introduction to Bullet for My Valentine, I hope you enjoy it. Again, I'm looking forward to hearing what this is going to be because their last album was fantastic. And if the deluxe version fits into that style, it should be good. Oh, hang on.
It's in your head. It's in your bones.
Bit of a slower lead in. It's got the dark voice though. I was going to say, it's going to do a scream and a hard-hitting. Oh, that riff is beautiful. Smooth. Smooth but erratic and same time it just works perfectly. Why is it the European groups are like so much better than most of what we have in mainstream music in America today? It's crazy. This whole album was just like return to roots. Everything they established themselves with was based on the signature sound originally. It's all back here. It's good balance. So I'm assuming all the verses for this song are going to be with the screaming growl edge. Straightforward chorus in terms of the message of the song, but like I was saying, I think it's going to be like the verses are going to have that raspy, that raspy growl, but the chorus is going to be the more melodic side. I mean, again, in comparison to some of the other songs on the album, this has a slower pace to it, but I like it. Beautiful mix there. And you notice they had the layered growls that were present on Paradise, or Parasite. Close enough. And that really was a signature element of the song too. It's part of the reason I remember it so well. Envision we're going to get a riff from here. Pretty dramatic one, we're doing the lead in. Okay, it's going to carry over. I was wondering if they could do it because I noticed like 10 of them, normally it would be 8 to work their way back into the chorus, but good transition though, I think. Again, it's a pretty straightforward chorus, but good. Rather encouraging, motivational, in a positive direction. Good switch of pitch there, again, very intimate. It's nice. They end on the hard-hitting note. That's good. And that's going to be, again, the style. That's I believe, just the opener to the rest of the album. Or the remaining tracks that they're going to bring on. I didn't catch all the names. I wonder if I can pull it up. I've got my music library open here. I don't know if I can pull up the rest of the names just to track it. Maybe I'm able to. Or I guess we're working through a couple other steps. So the new album, which again follows in the same title, Bullet for My Valentine. It's like the first album, self-titled. 5 new tracks. So Omen's the first one. We're going to have Stitches, No More Tears, Step Out from the Inside, This Means War. I don't know why they labeled Omen explicit. I mean, I know there's a couple explicit tracks on the album, but there wasn't any cursing in here, was there? I didn't see anything in the lyrics in the way of like profanity. So I'm kind of, that's not the first time too that iTunes has done that. I look at their stuff sometimes. I'm like, why'd you label that track? In fact, it was first they did it with Bullet for My Valentine. It was Alone, I think. Was that what the track's name is? I think it is. If so, it's one of my, the track itself is one of my favorites, but I'm pretty sure anyway, I'll look it up later. But yeah, they labeled that one explicit too. I'm listening to the lyrics again and again and again. I'm like, I'm not hearing anything other than maybe like damnation, but that's not a curse word. So it's kind of, I don't know why it was labeled explicit when it isn't. But it's a good song overall. Signature sound from Bullet for My Valentine. Like I said, this whole album is really going back into the roots of what set them up originally from some of their first instrumental records. And I've loved them for a long time. This is, I think, a bit slower in terms of the pacing. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying that it's a bit, it didn't have, at least no Happy Ever After. I love the energy of that one. It has the rough edge too that this one does as well, but I think that one has a higher elevation of freneticness to it. Whereas this one, it's a bit, it comes off a bit structured in regard to the way the beats transition from one another. But I'm not trying to say that in a bad way. I'm just saying it's got a slower pace. Maybe to let the message be stressed a bit more. Or maybe just to kind of give a period of pause on the album overall from some of the other tracks. Maybe an introduction to some of the other ones, which might kick the end of the album up several degrees. But I think it's a good track overall. I'm just kind of like, it's paced a bit slower from what I'm used to from them. But it's still good regardless. I mean, I do like the sound overall. And the fact that they reverted back to Parasite as well, in the second verse, I think, or basically part B of it, when he says, are you alive, live, or are you alive? And in fact, it's all built on one of our lines, and you have that mesh. So good on Parasite, how that was worked in. Like I told you, I think that's my favorite songs on the album. Well, besides No Happy Ever After. That one is I think my top tier favorite on it. There's so many good tracks on the latest release, but that was a great element to bring in. I like it, and if that's a good introduction into what the rest of the remainder of the album is, I'm sure it'll be a good hitting deluxe release with some bonus tracks. Now, I did make the mistake when I purchased this that I bought, I guess I pre-ordered the deluxe version. I guess I should have ordered the other one first and then done the deluxe, because then maybe I should have just bought the tracks separately, because I actually bought them twice. So I'm going to have 2 copies. I have the original release and I have the deluxe album. So I'm basically copies of the first 10 songs on my phone on 2 different places. So if you go to buy this album, if this was maybe a first introduction to you and you're like, oh man, I'm motivated to check out some more of their tracks, don't make the mistake that I did if you want to go outright and pre-order the new one. Order the first one, and then maybe buy the bonus tracks separately. Because then you can buy Omen at a cheaper price and not have the dual layered list of tracks. Being like, okay, you have Parasite and Knives on here several times more than you should have. But if that was the first introduction for you to Bullet for My Valentine, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Maybe this wasn't. Maybe you're like, oh, I've loved this group for a long time, but you haven't listened to Omen yet. What do you think? Again, like I said, a bit slower from some of their other tracks in terms of pacing, but I think it's still got that energy that Bullet for My Valentine is known for, and that rough style. And the riffs are pretty good, too, to mention that as well. And I forget their lead vocalist, but his voice is very distinctive on my playlist library. I love listening to him. Let me know what your thoughts are down below on it. But long story short, I think it's a good addition to the overall album, especially with a deluxe edition. I love listening to deluxes. Any new tracks I'm grateful for, but I think it's a good interlude to maybe what could be, a promising future for the rest of the album. And if, future singles get to be released ahead of, August period, I'll be sure to take a look at them. And maybe some of the tracks, before, or when they come out. We'll see what the future holds for Bullet for My Valentine on this channel, but I think they'll make a return appearance maybe at some point. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.